Apple just launched a brand new power-saving mode for the Apple Watch, but here's the twist. You can't use it. That's right. Adaptive Power Mode is only available if the watch is set up for kids, not for adults. And while that might sound like a strange restriction at first, there's actually a pretty interesting reason behind it. So here's what's going on. Adaptive Power Mode is part of watchOS 26, and it works almost exactly like it does on the iPhone. If you've seen it in action on iOS 26, you know the drill. It saves battery by dialing back performance. That means things like Siri might respond a little slower, animations won't feel as buttery smooth, and scrolling could get a touch less fluid. In exchange, you get longer-lasting battery life. On an iPhone, that trade-off makes sense if you're trying to squeeze out every last hour of power. But Apple is making this feature exclusive to Apple Watches set up for children. Now, if you're wondering what Apple Watch for Kids even means, here's the breakdown. A few years back, Apple introduced something called Family Setup, now branded as Apple Watch for your kids. The idea is that parents can give their child a smartwatch without needing the child to have their own iPhone. It only works with Apple Watch models that have cellular connectivity, since the watch basically becomes the kid's primary communication device. Think of it as a starter phone, but on the wrist. And here's where Adaptive Power Mode comes in. For most adults, the Apple Watch is an extension of their iPhone, a fitness tracker, a notification hub, and a quick way to glance at information. If the watch dies, it's inconvenient, but not the end of the world, because your iPhone is still there. But for a kid who's using the Apple Watch as their only lifeline for calls, texts, or location sharing, running out of battery is a much bigger problem. That's why Apple decided to bake in adaptive power for them. It's also turned on by default. If you buy a new Apple Watch for your child or update an existing one to watchOS 26, adaptive power will kick in automatically. Parents can still disable it if they want, but the idea is that by stretching out the watch's battery, the child always has a better chance of staying connected when it really matters. Now, for adults, this might feel like a missed opportunity. Wouldn't it be nice to have a super efficient mode that could get you through a long weekend trip or an overnight flight without scrambling for a charger? Apple does already offer a more basic low-power mode, but it's not as adaptive or as integrated as what kids are getting. So yeah, it's a little ironic. Grown-ups are the ones who ask for longer battery life all the time, yet the best new power-saving tool isn't for them. But if you step back, Apple's decision makes sense in a broader context. For kids, the Apple Watch isn't just a fitness tracker, it's their phone, their GPS, and their connection to family. Adaptive power ensures that even if the device has to sacrifice a bit of performance, it stays alive longer when it's needed most. For adults, the watch is secondary. Even if it dies, your iPhone is usually within reach. Still, I can see some people feeling a little jealous. Imagine being able to flip on adaptive power before heading out on a camping trip or when you know you won't have access to a charger for a while. It's not impossible that Apple might expand the feature to more devices down the road. After all, many of Apple's once restricted features eventually trickle down to everyone. But for now, this one is for kids only. So what does this mean in practice? If you're a parent setting up an Apple Watch for your child, you'll have the peace of mind that their watch is optimized for longevity right out of the box. And if you're an adult Apple Watch user, you'll probably shrug and stick with low power mode when you need it. It's not as advanced, but it gets the job done most of the time. Personally, I think this move highlights something important about Apple's design philosophy. They're not just chasing specs or raw features, they're tailoring experiences to very specific use cases. Adaptive power might not be for everyone, but for the kids who rely on their watch as their main device, it could be the difference between being reachable and being disconnected. At the end of the day, the restriction is less about holding back adults and more about making sure the people who really need the feature, kids with a cellular Apple Watch, have it where it counts. And while it might feel odd to see Apple giving kids something exclusive, the reasoning behind it actually adds up. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.